Bara så att du vet om det.
Absolut. Du kan räkna med mig. Vi kör ett trilingual intervju.
Ja, precis. Det blir svenska, engelska och portugisiska.
Jag menar det. Det är perfekt.
Ja. Känner mig nästan som Musse Pigg när jag har de här stora svarta på mig.
So I think we're live already. I'm just mixing with the sound here because I can hear myself. Sorry about that. Give me just a second. I have to go back to the YouTube and turn down the sound. Yes, I hope people on YouTube still can hear me because now I'm back on the Zoom channel. Can you hear me, Chris?
Yes, I can.
Okay, very good. So I think we're live. Sorry about this delay since I'm talking to Chris on Zoom, and then we do the transmission to Okay, let me see if I still have this delay here, but otherwise we have to start. Let's see if people can hear us well. It's only 1 minute past 10, so we're not too late. Just checking the technology here. So, but this will be an echo for me. But let's try if it works. Let's see if it works.
You have such a beautiful voice, Jonas.
So I will hear myself twice. No problem. At least if the sound is working for you, Chris, I guess we can start.
It works very fine for me. Thank you.
Okay, maybe I can mix with the sound as soon as we have started to not to be too late here. But good morning, all of you. Friday, 10 o'clock here in Sao Paulo, 3 o'clock back home in Sweden. We have restarted our Friday fikas. And today's guest is Christina Rickardsson, but also Cristiana Mara Coelho, same person in two. Very happy to have her here live from Diamantina in Minas Gerais. Before I start talking to Chris about the fika, those of you who have been here before know that this is a partnership with O Escandinavo. It's a restaurant here in Sao Paulo offering Scandinavian foods. And they have sent this kanelbulle to me and a sweet with coconut. There is coconut in Sweden too, not fresh, but you can make bread and other food with coconut, and the Swedes really like that too. And if you're in Sao Paulo for the coming fikas, please, you can order it from Scandinavo. They will send it to you, as you can join us for a fika on Friday, 10 o'clock. And as we explained before, the fika is a Swedish concept where you turn off your computer for half an hour, you go and get your coffee, talk to your colleagues or your family to try to leave a little bit the working stress and talk about other stuff, not only work. And this has proven to be very efficient. It's good for your mind, your health, and it's also actually good for the companies. You get more creative when you kind of leave your office and that environment, right? So it's something we recommend for the Brazilian culture too, to take these stops. One in the morning, maybe 10 o'clock, and one in the afternoon, 2 or 3 o'clock. Just talk to people, have a coffee, and relax. Good for everyone. So here we are again with the Friday Fika with Christina. People who don't know you, Christina, maybe they saw the invitation, and I guess they are curious. Who is this girl? I mean, is she Brazilian? Is she Swedish? Is she living in Sweden or in Brazil or anywhere else in the world? Please tell us a little bit about yourself, a short intro before. I have many questions to you today, but just a short intro. Who are you?
I get the question a lot. I mean, who are you, of course, but the other one, are you Swedish or are you Brazilian? And somehow it fascinates me every time I get the question, because I realize that it seems to be important for people to know if I am Swedish or if I'm Brazilian, or if I feel more of any of feel more for any of those countries. And you know, I'm me. I was born in Brazil, but made in Sweden. That's pretty much me. So I'm both. And who I am, I would like to believe that I am a person that is always growing, and I'm very adventurous. I love to try to fill my life with adventures, because in the end, I believe that, you know, when this is all over, or when we are close to the end, that it won't be the things that will make us, you know, look back at our lives and see that we had a great life. I think it will be the experience and the people that we met along the way. So I would like to think that I'm a person that is growing and learning this thing that we call life, you know. And besides that, I am an author, and I give lectures, and I have a foundation that I founded and working with here with children in Brazil. So I do a lot of stuff. Can you hear me, Jonas?
Yes. Chris, since I hear this delay, sorry, Chris. Yes, I'm still here, Chris, but since I have this 20 seconds delay, I have to wait for you to finish. Let me see if I can fix this. Sorry about this. But okay, I will ask you the question again and see how this timing works. We talk about the Swedish experience. The Swedish experience is what we try to sell here at the Chamber too, and to show. So of course it's a Chamber of Commerce. We do a lot of business, talk to the companies, but we also try to promote the Swedish culture in terms of language, everything that you include in culture, right? And you're an expert now. You have 2 countries, right? You are Brazilian, you're Swedish, you have lived in both countries. So how was your Swedish experience? If you focus on food, music, culture, how people act with each other, could you please tell us a little bit about how it is? How do you perceive Sweden and the Swedish culture and the Swedish experience? How has it been for you as a Brazilian growing up in Sweden?
Wow. Well, I wouldn't say that I'm an expert. I think you are an expert as much as me, because you know you live in Brazil and you've been living here for a long time, so you know too. But for me now, being and feeling Swedish, I don't think about that much. But when I was 8 years old and I arrived in Sweden, of course, it was a huge cultural shock. And I remember the food was very different from the Brazilian food. In Brazil here, we take a plate and we mix everything on it. We put pasta, rice, potatoes, meat, fish, not like everything, salad. And I remember my mom and dad, every meal that we had, lunch and dinner, they were this, you had potato, and then you had meat, and then you had a sauce. And and a little bit of salad maybe sometimes, but it's very different, the food, I think. But they are good. Both foods are good, but it's very different. The music was that was kind of a shock for me, because we don't have Latina music in Sweden. So that was I missed the music a lot when I came to Sweden. But I think the biggest, of course, the language, the religion, all of these things are huge. It's a huge difference from Brazil. But I think what was the most shocking for me was that people was so much different than the Brazilian people. So I had to learn a totally new culture, a way of people behaving. That was probably the thing that I noticed. I noticed a lot.
Okay. Am I interrupting you now, or is it okay for the next question? No. Okay. I think now I'm synchronized with the sound. Excellent. Sorry about this. Chris, let's talk a little bit about going back in history. You were staying the last years here in Sao Paulo in an orphanage, right? Swedish family comes, says that they would like to adopt you to Sweden. One condition, you said that I want to take my brother with me. If not, we will not go. And they took your brother also, and you moved to Sweden. Big house in the north of Sweden, right? Maybe not full of luxury, but still, for you coming from such rough conditions to a house in Sweden with all what it means, modern living. How did that feel as a child? I mean, it must have been for a child going from the streets into a palace. How did you handle that emotionally, and how did you react? How is it for a child to change so dramatically your lifestyle?
Well, I came from living in a cave my first 6 years, and then living on the streets of Sao Paulo, and then in an orphanage for a year. So it's safe to say that I was as poor as you can get. I had nothing. And then suddenly I was in this, middle class family home in the north part of Sweden. So it wasn't anything extraordinary, to be honest, in Swedish standard, And I remember so clearly when my new mom and dad, they showed me the house and they opened the door, and me and my brother walked in. Or my mom carried my brother in. Of course, he couldn't walk. He was only 2 years. And I remember looking around, and I swear to you, Jonas, it felt like I was Steve Jobs. Suddenly I was me and my brother, we had ended up amongst the most rich people in the world, and I remember running around, pointing, walking into the bathroom, and my mom and dad showed me the bathroom, and I pointed at the toilet seat and everything, and I asked my mom and dad if I could get that, if it was mine, and they said yes. So suddenly I had I pointed at everything in the house asking if it was mine, and they were like, yes, it is, it's yours now. And it was I get a little emotional actually when I think about it, because it was very strange to have nothing, and just like that, you know, you suddenly had a life. You suddenly had you know, what should be the basics for every human being, for every child on this planet. Suddenly I actually had that. So I was filled with joy and happiness, and at the same time I was also filled with a lot of confusion because I was in this new country. And then I was also filled with a bit of guilt because I also knew that all my friends and a lot of children were still left in Brazil. So I was filled with guilt and thinking, why did this happen to me? Why did I get this, but all the other children did not? So as a child, it was very hard to have all of those feelings, you know, and handle them.
Mhm. Okay. And then growing up in Sweden, did you have Brazilian friends? That's my first question. And then to follow up, at what age did you decide to go back to your roots, look for your Brazilian mother? And can you tell us a little bit about that journey, both physically coming to Brazil again and mentally? How was it to go back and look for your family in Brazil? How was it? And also about the Brazilian relation in Sweden. Did you have any friends?
Yes, I did. There was this, I was adopted through an organization called no, not FIFA, something, I don't actually remember. It's not the football FIFA, but it was something like that. Yeah, I don't remember the name, but anyway, so they actually have this gathering once a year where all the children that were adopted from Brazil met with the family. So the families, the parents, they could, you know, talk to each other, and the kids could, you know, meet other children that had the same story as them. So on this, the first year I went to this, I made a lot of friends, and some of them, you know, we still have a friendship until today. So I always had Brazilian friends, even adopted Brazilian friends, or just, you know, Brazilians that moved to Sweden. So yes, I always had Brazilian friends and people in my life. And when it comes to when I decided to go back to Brazil, I think I have always known that I would come back to Brazil, but why it took so long for me? It took me 24 years from the day that I arrived. I was 8 years old when I came to Sweden, and 24 years later I came back to Brazil. And the reason it took such a long time was because I was afraid. You know, we humans, I do believe that we humans, the strongest feeling that drive us is fear, and it's the strongest feeling, and it's the hardest feeling to overcome. And I was afraid of a lot of things. I was afraid that my mom would be dead, and how would I live with that? Was afraid that if I came back to Brazil, would I still feel this patriotic feelings that I had all my life, that I am Brazilian, no matter that I was living in Sweden, I was still Brazilian. I still, even though my country didn't treat me well, I still had a lot of love for my country. So I was afraid of a lot of things, but then through some miracle, I got some courage, and I did this huge journey back to Brazil, and I am very lucky. I'm very happy that I got the chance to meet my mom again, and that we have a relationship today. And it was very emotional reunion, both for my mom and me. It was from my side a lot of tears, and relief also, to know that I no longer have to live with this fear of not finding her or not knowing if she's still alive or not. So it was a relief in many ways.
Okay. Chris, going to the next question. You write a lot in your book about mixed feelings, or two sides of the coin. I mean, on one hand, you were so happy having come to a new family in Sweden, a family that really loved you. You had all the, I mean, a comfortable life in Sweden. So of course you were happy about that. But on the other side, you also felt angry and frustrated about having been taken away from your mother in Brazil, all your friends and also good things here in Sao Paulo. Of course, you had also good things here, right, as a child, and that was taken away from you from one day to another. So that was an inner conflict for you. And I guess that's the reality for many people who were adopted, right? I would like to know if you meet other adopted people, what you talk about, if they share these feelings with you. And what would you say to people who think that adopting a child is easy and it's only good for the child, no problems whatsoever, like you're saving the child from poverty and from a hard life? Can you elaborate a bit on this?
There were many questions there. I'm gonna try to remember them all. I think you started with, what was the first question, Jonas, there?
About the mixed feelings. You were happy
friends.
And you were angry and sad also.
Okay, thank you. So yes, I had a lot of mixed feelings, because in a way, you have the understanding that you have gotten a better life, because suddenly I had food, I have a house, I could go to school, I had clothes, I got toys and everything. So I understood that my life was like better now, but the feelings are there, and you cannot control your feelings. And so I had a lot of mixed feelings of the way they took me away from my biological mother. They didn't have to do it in that kind of way. It was a very traumatic thing that they did. And I do meet a lot of adopted people, children and grown-ups. And I think that it's very important to see everyone as individuals and not to put everyone together in a box, because everyone's experience of being adopted is different. And that is the thing that I notice. Of course, we have some things in common. Some will have the feeling of abandonedness. A lot of adopted children, actually, that do not know anything of the history, they develop this feeling of abandonedness, some of them. And I never had to have that feeling, because I had memories, so I remember I wasn't abandoned. But I do believe that it's very important to remember that everyone has different experience from being adopted. And for some people, it's been a very good experience, and for some it's been a horrible, and others it's somewhere there in between. And I do not believe that a person should, or that a couple should, this is opinion. I do not believe that anyone should adopt a child with the thought of, I'm going to save this child, or I'm going to do something good for the world. I think that is the wrong reason to adopt a child. And I do think that it's very important that you are informed about what it means to adopt a child, what kind of history that child can carry, and that child is probably gonna need more love than you in the beginning thought, that the child was gonna need. So I do believe that you should not have this romanticized picture of adoption. I am not against adoption. I do believe that it's good that we have it, but I also do think that it's very important that we have laws concern around it, so we protect the children and we protect the parents adopting also. So I think we do need to look into adoption more and see how it's done, because even today there are still children being kidnapped and adopted. So I do believe that it's important to look over how it's done.
Okay. So I might interrupt you again, Chris, because I'm still hearing this the second sound, but let me go for the next question. I remember when you came here to the chamber in Sao Paulo a few years ago, you spoke about your book. And something that you said during the presentation was that growing up on the streets, it was hard. You were hit, you were abused, you were mistreated in many ways. But what was even worse for you as a child was not the feeling of not being seen. People passing by, not even looking at you, like you didn't exist. That is what hurts the most. I mean, better to actually hit a child for this feeling than being not totally ignored. Can you explain a little bit about those feelings? How it was?
Well, yes, of course. Just to be clear, and I know that you know that also, Jonas. But of course, I do not think anyone should hit any children at all. But the pain from being hit, that pain that pain goes away in a different. It goes away faster. The bruise disappear, but the pain of being ignored, that pain doesn't go away that fast. If you're not lucky, you will carry that pain with you, your whole life. So I do believe that for me, it was a horrible feeling, because I think that everyone wants to belong. I think we're humans, and there are science about this, that we want to belong to a group. And when we are excluded from that group, what we are being told is that you are not good enough. You don't have anything to contribute. We look at you and we don't see a person that is as good as the rest of the group, And all of this does something to you that is horrible, because it goes in that feeling, it penetrates your heart, it penetrates your soul, and it changes your identity. You start to believe that you have nothing to contribute to the society. You start to believe that you are worth nothing. And when you lose hope, because that's where it ends in the end, then you will become that person that has nothing to contribute. You will become that person that is worth nothing. And I do not believe that any person in the world has the right to treat another person in that kind of way. I think that it's through kindness and love and understanding, and that we grow a better society together. And by treating children in that kind of way, it's not gonna come back to anyone in a good way. No matter, I mean, you can have all the money in the world, but if you still have to put walls and electric fence around your houses and have bodyguards and whatever, you are still not free, because, and that is the kind of society we create when we separate and when we look at each other in that kind of way. When we tell people that they are worth nothing, they will become nothing, and then they will do things that are not good for anyone, for themselves or for others.
Okay, and now you're back in Brazil again, Chris, and you see that there are still many children living on the streets. I do think that things are better than in the late 80s when you grew up here, but still there is a lot to do. We who live here in Sao Paulo, we see people living on the streets every day, and we know you don't fight poverty by giving coins at the street lights to children, right? Asking for money or for candies. We do that because it's hard to ignore a child asking for money or food. We do help them, but in a long-term perspective, how would you say that we, in the best way, should fight poverty and help children on the streets?
I do think it's a question about solidarity. I think it's a question about changing the culture, and that is something that is very, very hard to do, because when a culture is set, it takes many generations often to change it. But I do believe it's a question about solidarity and being able to understand and see that if my neighbor has a good life, if my neighbor's children can go to school and have healthcare, that in the long run is good for me too. This is gonna probably sound a little bit harsh from me, but looking at two different countries and two different cultures, Sweden and Brazil, I see that Sweden has a lot of things to learn from Brazil, but also Brazil has a lot of things to learn from Sweden. And this one of the things that I see, that that Brazil can learn from Sweden is the solidarity part, that we have in Sweden, we have a thinking that it's not only me, like if I have a good life and my children and my family, I protect them, that's it, and nothing more. I don't care what is happening to the neighbor or that person on the street. And as long as you have that mentality and that culture, then it's very hard to implement a culture where you are more solidarity, where you give more to others, because every time people think about you have to give something to others, they think that they lose something. But here it's very important to understand you do not lose something, you actually gain by having a society where everyone has a good welfare. And if it's hard, if people don't believe, I tell them here in Brazil, sometimes people don't believe me, and I tell them, okay, so look at countries like Sweden, Canada, Norway, Finland, Germany. You can look at different countries and see where they have this kind of system. It actually works better for everyone. Of course, there will always be some people falling under the system, but in the long run, that I do believe that is the thing it needs to change, the way people think and the way people understand how to help each other,
Chris, can you tell us about your foundation, the Coelho Growth Foundation?
Yes, that was a foundation I started in 2016 when my book was released in Sweden, and then it took a couple of years before the book was released in other countries, here in Brazil, in the US, and then 14 other countries. And I created a foundation because I wanted in a way to give back to I couldn't help my friends when I was adopted. And I probably will never find them and be able to help them today. But I can do something, even if it's small. I can do something for the children, for some of the 8 million street children that we have here in Brazil. So I started a foundation 2016. It's named Coelho Growth Foundation, and we work mostly towards education, because what we can see is that education is the way to stop, to help a child to get out of poverty. For adults, it's entrepreneurship, but for children, it is education. So we focus on that and try to do some good,
Yeah, fantastic, great initiative. And lastly, Chris, about your future, long-term, short-term, what will you do now the coming years? What are your plans, please?
Some of the plans that are actually big ones, I can't say anything about now, and they actually are the ones that are going to determine if I'm going to be living more here in Brazil or more in Sweden the next few years. But yeah, I'm writing on my second book, and I'm soon done with that. It's a follow-up to the first one, so I hope that my readers will like the second book too. And I'm working with the foundation. We are building a library here in Diamantina for Villa de Educación de Meninas. I hope I said that correct.
Okay.
So for 100 young girls that are poor and need help with education and a future. So I have some different projects that I do, and I hope that I can stay here in Brazil a little bit longer, because one, I need to learn Portuguese. Two, I really like it here. And after being in Sweden for 29 years, I think it's time to spend some time in Brazil.
Okay. So enjoying the best of both worlds, right? Can you hear me?
Sorry, what did you say, Jonas?
Enjoying the best of both worlds, Sweden and Brazil.
Yes,
I
sure try.
We will see you a lot here.
Sometimes it's very frustrating too, so it's not always easy.
I understand, for sure. I forgot to show the book in the beginning, right? This is the Portuguese version.
Yes.
How
Nunca
many,
deixe de
how many
acreditar.
languages do you have this book, Chris?
I think it's between 14 and 16 languages. I stopped counting.
Wow.
So 14, 15, 16 languages. Yes.
Okay. So those of you who are listening or will see this video afterwards, we recommend the book if you want to know the whole story. Today was just a teaser, right? A short conversation with Chris, but we do recommend the book in Swedish or in English or Portuguese or any language. And we look forward to future projects, Chris. I look forward to seeing you here in Sao Paulo again. I think that's pretty much it for today. Any last comments from your side, Chris?
No, thank you so much, Jonas, for having me, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in Sao Paulo. I hope that this COVID situation will get under control more, so we can start hanging out a little bit more. And to everyone that was with us today, thank you for your time. You know, for me, time is the most beautiful thing we can give another person. So thank you for being here today with us.
Exactly. Those of you who were listening today, please enter the YouTube channel and follow us for the coming fikas. And please spread the video. It will be on the website tomorrow, and of course on YouTube further on. So please watch, like, and forward the video. Thank you again, Chris, and congratulations to your story. You're a true winner and inspiration to all of us.
Thank you, Jonas.
Have a good weekend.
You
Enjoy
too.
Minas Gerais.
Take
Bye,
care.
bye. Bye.
Beijos. Ciao, ciao.